Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a motorcycle racing TV show, Team Chicago Challenge. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com. The website is teamchicago.tv, and I promise this year or next year I'm going to upgrade my website, because I want to put a list of all the shows so people can start looking for shows, and if you want to order shows. And I got like 500 clips up on YouTube. So this is show number 1801. I'm using 2 shows to celebrate 1,800 television shows that I produced. Who would have ever dreamt? But I had a great time. I got to race great motorcycles. I got to race great road courses, and I think you'll enjoy what I'm going to put forward. It's going to be educational. It's going to be some excitement, some racing, and let's see what happened in the last 100 shows. And don't forget my email. It's teamdan45@gmail.com. In June of 2025, I rode the Illinois Motorcycle Freedom Run. Horsemen and horsewomen standing at attention with their horses to show their respect for the Illinois Motorcycle Freedom Run. And a great number of local folks lined the road into Marseilles to greet the Illinois Motorcycle Freedom Run. And on the Illinois River are the 15 granite panels containing the names of those that gave it all for our freedom. The Middle East conflict wall. The majority of the folks who died, whose names are on these granite tablets, died because of the 47-year war we have had with Iran. And thank God that President Donald Trump is finally ending this 47-year conflict with Iran. In November of 2024, I was at the Muscle Car and Corvette National, and I spotted this lovely 1963 Chevy with an aluminum clip, a 409 engine punched out to 427. And I should point out, when I was 17 years old, my dad allowed me to buy this lovely 1963 Chevy Super Sport. And at the show, and I had a chance to talk to the owner, Pat Lobb.
Yes, my name is Pat Lobb, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. And I have a couple of cars here. I've got this 1963 Chevrolet, what's called an RPO Z-11, which is a regular production option code that you would check to be able to order the car. But before that, you had to have special permission to buy it from Chevrolet. They only made 50 of them, And I don't remember how many are left. Maybe it's less than 15, I think, that have been found, and in various stages of restoration, and some that still need to be restored. What made the car special in 1963 was the car was equipped with aluminum fenders, aluminum hood, aluminum bumpers. Even the bumper brackets themselves were aluminum. All the mounting brackets, the grille shield, rock shield here was aluminum, and it had a special stroked 409 engine that was 427 cubic inches. However, it has, instead of having the typical Chevrolet one-piece intake manifold, it has a two-piece intake manifold with a valley cover and then a high-rise intake manifold that sits on top of that. So it allowed the engine to breathe better, and it kept the fuel from getting heated up as the engine heated up. So, like I said, they made 50 of these, and it's been this particular car was ordered by a gentleman by the name of Dave Colbert. And it was the next to the last car built by Chevrolet, because they entered into their edict where they stopped racing. And everybody went crazy when that happened. A lot of people bought all these cars and equipment, and Chevrolet stopped racing. What had happened, and you can research, but General Motors at that time had over 60% market share. And with that, they had not only that market share, but Chevrolet had some gigantic piece of that market share. And as a result, the federal government was going to break them up. They were going to break up Buick and Pontiac and Cadillac into separate divisions on their own and not be part of General Motors. So the bean counters said, we can't do this. So they said, we've got to slow sales down somehow. Therefore, they issued an edict to stop racing. And this was the next to the last car built before the edict actually came into effect when this car was being built. But having said that, a lot of Chevrolet owners continued to race.
Thank you, Pat, the man that knew nearly everything there is to know about Chevrolets. And then in April of 2025, I was invited to MCC. I am riding the new Ducati Diavolo V4. This bike weighs 505 pounds, but it really feels very light to the touch. But it does make a ton of torque. Now, many years ago, I rode an Aerial 4 Square. It was built by BSA. And I thought that had the most torque of any bike I ever rode, but this bike here really is a torque monster, but it is very fast. So this is the V4 Gran Turismo engine. It's 1158 cc, 4-cylinder, the 90-degree V engine. The bore is 83 millimeters. And the stroke is 53.5 millimeters. The compression ratio is 14:1, and the maximum horsepower is 168. Torque is 98. The overhead cam engine, it's partial chain and partial gear driving the cams, and the crank is a counter-rotating crank. And now I spot my old friend Jeff Schwartz, and he is talking about, he is the person that has bought this one-off Ducati Panigale.
So we're here at MCC in
P4.
Villa Park, Illinois, and what I have here is my Ducati Unica bike. Unica means unique, and this bike is a one-of-one that Ducati built special for me. I've waited 3 years to take delivery of this amazing machine here. It is basically a Panigale V4R, which is a 242 horsepower motorcycle. This one weighs 350 pounds dry because it's had numerous upgrades done at the factory. We've got carbon fiber wheels. All the bodywork is carbon fiber covers on the engine side cover, titanium exhaust, and it's just a phenomenal machine. I cannot wait to ride this thing home today. Incidentally, I am planning to run this at the East Coast Timing Association event in Blytheville, Arkansas in October, and I hope to break some land speed records in the 998cc class. So stay tuned. So I can't wait to ride this home today, and I hope to have the 620 break-in miles done in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Weather permitting.
I probably should thank MCC for doing such a great job on it.
You can do another pass. I'm always terrified that something messed up. So
Okay.
It's all good.
And good to see Dan Schmitt here. Dan and I go back a long way, back to the Ducati Owners Rally of Canada at Granite Raceway. And we did some chase scenes with my Bimota Tezzi and YB8 back in the day. And I cherish those memories, Dan. So I want you to know that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, being around racing all the years, well, I'm talking now 53 years I've been racing. So
Right, yeah.
I've been blessed. I should point out here that Jeff built, designed, and sold some of the early rear stands for modern sport bikes. Bike is very responsive, very smooth, and I want to thank Johnny Sheft in advance. Now that he bought out the two brothers, he's got two dealerships, MCC in Villa Park, and in Chicago he's got the Triumph BMW dealership at 1900 South on Western Avenue. You can see the tower building on my left. We are now crossing Roosevelt Road. We'll proceed over to the right lane. Now this is the exit for Butterfield Road, but we're going to go eastbound where 56 and 38 come together and cross. I want to take this turn quickly to see how well this bike handles in the corners. Then I'll have a chance to open it up. And as we go by the tower building, in July of 2024, I went to Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the EAA AirVenture. And I had a chance to look at some very special multi-engine aircraft from World War II. This one here, Placid Lassie, is the true war hero. This aircraft flew on June 6, 1944, the D-Day invasion, and it was also served in Europe until the end of World War II. This aircraft has participated at the 70th anniversary, the 75th anniversary, and this year the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. And I had a chance to talk to the pilot, Ben Smith.
My name is Ben Smith. I'm a pilot for Placid Lassie. So the D-Day Squadron, the whole idea is to get together and work as a team. So we all got in there scattered across the country. So we gathered in Oxford, Connecticut to give people time to fly across the country and meet us. And we can work as an operation together. Get up, brief, fly a mission, get information, land, debrief the mission. Work all that together, so we're working as a team together. We flew to Pascal, Maine, which is the original jumping off point for the Blue Spruce route.
Right.
For us, last cheap U.S. gas. After that, the price of gas doubles. So the town went out and gave us a good time. And then next morning got up and flew to Goose Bay, Labrador.
Okay, so you start out, you gather in
Connecticut,
then you
go to Pascal, Maine.
When
you're burning 100 gallons an hour, U.S. fuel at U.S. prices is better than Canadian fuel at twice that cost. So last cheap fuel, relatively cheap fuel. From there, you're going to Goose Bay, Labrador. You're trying to get up as high as you can in Canada, because the next leg is to go over to Greenland. And that's another.
And that flight, from what I've read, is 770 nautical miles.
It's a long leg,
right,
over cold water.
Right.
And the other thing is, going into Marseilles, Greenland, the airport is open 6 or 7 hours a day. First come, first serve for fuel. You can't pre-order type thing. And it takes them about an hour and a half, 2 hours for fuel on these airplanes. So only put so many airplanes through a day. So you have to think about that logistically when you're bringing multiple airplanes. From there, it's basically land, refuel, and then go to Iceland. You really don't want to stay overnight in Greenland because A, it can snow. You might be stuck there for days. It's a town of 100 with one restaurant, one hotel.
Right.
You get what you get. Right.
It's one of the green areas of Greenland is where the airport is.
Yes.
And that's probably only 4 months out of the year.
Yes. And then from Iceland, it's another 5 or 6 hour leg into Prestwick, Scotland.
Right.
And that's the end of the original route.
Right.
And from there, you can go to wherever you want to in Europe.
Right.
Now, we actually fitted ferry tanks. We went direct from Canada to Iceland. And that was 9.5 hours in the air. And that's a long time over cold water.
Okay, so where did you, in Europe, on D-Day, which is June 6th, because the main reason you got these C-47s going to Europe is because on D-Day, they were used for gliders.
And paratroopers, yes.
And paratroopers, and they probably flew around the clock.
Yeah, so various squadrons came over various times. We were over there for 9 months before D-Day. This airplane came over. And so, yes, these airplanes towed gliders and dropped paratroopers for various missions, but they're also the workhorse. You know, when Patton outran supply lines, they'd fill them full of jerry cans and fly fuel to the front, also food and bullets and that kind of stuff, and bring the wounded back. Or later on, it was rescued POWs or even German POWs. They were flying all the time. After the war, she was sold off rather quickly and became an airliner. First in operation out of Oakland, California very briefly, and then moved to Boeing Field up in Seattle, ran for 20 years an airliner with West Coast Airlines. And then spent the next 30 years as a cargo dog for operators out of Washington, North Carolina, South Carolina, until she lost an engine and the operator could not afford to fix her and he walked away. And then 10 years later, a rich guy bought her, got her flying again, bought her to Oshkosh, got her running in 8 weeks, went to Oshkosh, and then turned her into a foundation so we could bring her in public and see her. We go to air shows, we go to Oshkosh, we drop paratroopers.
Thank you, Ben, for that great info. Now we're looking at footage from the takeoff from Doxford, England, as the 30 C-47s. That was Placid Lassie first, and now we're seeing Miss Montana. 15 American aircraft, 15 C-47s from the rest of the world participated as we see Placid Lassie taken off. In 1944, on June 6th, 832 C-47s were part of the D-Day invasion, the largest naval invasion in history. In the spring of 2025, I was invited to Penneboro, West Virginia, for a racer reunion as we see this BSA Gold Star. And I had a chance to talk to Greg Pearson, the great historian. And here we're looking at an XR 750 Harley and a Boltaco 250 short tracker.
My name's Greg Pearson, lifelong motorcycle racing enthusiast, history major in school. I think the impetus for the book was I helped with the Charity Newsies reunion, the Charity Newsies revival in 2006, a race there. And so I met Bobby Hill and Dick Clamfith and Ronnie Rawl and some of the racers from the 50s and 60s. And nobody had ever really done a book about the Grand National Series. And I wanted to talk to these guys before they were gone. So that was the reason I started with the first volume, covered 54 to 69, you know, the start of the modern Grand National Series.
Okay, well, I remember, because I interviewed Gary Nixon. I got a 3-part interview with Gary Nixon. And back then I went online and I found a site that had all the results from the Nationals, and all of a sudden I can't find that anymore. So I'm happy to hear that you did a book, and then Bert Sumner's is keeping track of all the records, because
Stats.
I ended up sending him 15 of my rule books from the AMA.
Yeah.
So whatever, you know, just like things like when did they go to 250s on the short track?
Right.
You know, when did they go to 750s on the overhead valve engine?
Right.
You know, and why did Harley build the XR 750? So those are things. All right. So your first volume, tell me about your first volume. It start with what year?
54, which was the start of the modern point system. Before that, before 54, you got number one by winning the Springfield Mile, one race a year.
Was that just the end one, or the one in the fall?
Probably the one in the probably the one like Labor Day and into the fall.
Right.
Yeah. Towards the end of the season, and I think it was that from like post World War II up until 54. Bill Tooman winning the last one on a hand shift and go just to a reasonable length of the book. A reasonable length of the book being 632 pages, 237 races. So pretty comprehensive. You know, it's got previews of each season, the racetracks, the history of the racetracks, the story of the races. Kind of like Cycle News. I'm a 70s kid, grew up with Cycle News, so it's kind of modeled after that. The results, the points battles that were going on, and then at the end of each race coverage, I usually have some trivia that happened in a race that didn't necessarily fit the story.
So where did you get this information? Just by reading AMA magazine? And
I was fortunate enough to talk my way into the AMA museum, into the archives, and you know, Mark Modersky that helped me today,
Right.
that hosted the panel discussion, was somewhat reluctant at first, but so he let me into the archives at the AMA, so I had access to all the Cycle News, all the AMA news, all the magazines, and some actual AMA records, but the majority of it probably came from the Cycle News. And the periodicals. So
you basically, each year you covered each national during that year.
Yep.
Thank you, Greg, for that great information. And now I spot this Rotex 600 with number 42 on it. Number 42 is the number of Steve Morehead. Now, both Steve Morehead and myself, we got our professional license in 1972. Steve went on to win 23 nationals. Let's hear from Steve.
Morehead, first year professional rider, 1972.
Well, that's what I thought, because I got my license in 1972 also. But like I've said, I knew nothing about motorcycle racing. I mean, I knew it existed, but I didn't know there was professional racing. And in Chicago, we had Santa Fe Speedway that ran professional racing every Wednesday night. So I went out to a race one time in 1970, and I said, I got to do this. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen. So how did you get into it that you got your license finally in 72?
Well, I started riding a little 100cc Hodak at the age of 8 years old around the backyard of our house, and my father, he was at an amateur level, and I'd go to the races on the weekends and watch him compete on a 175, 200cc Voltaco. We had 7 or 8 other individuals from my hometown of Findlay, Ohio, that would race. So when I got to be 10 years old, I was able to convince my mom to let me try it. Then I started amateur racing, and I did that every weekend up till I was 16 years old. I could obtain a professional license, and then I went to my first pro race in Lime, Ohio, and seen the likes of George Roeder and Ronnie Rawl on a half-mile limestone cushion racetrack, and I thought, wow, that's something I want to be or do, and I want to be one of those guys when I grow up.
So you started out as a novice in 72, and you started with an OSA first?
Yes, I started out with an OSA.
Did you have a DMR? Or
yes, DMR OSA.
Okay.
And then started by the first 3 or 4 races, and then Tom Cummings come down out of the state of Flint, out of Michigan, with a TDC Yamaha twin, and I couldn't run with him. You know, the thing was just so daggone fast. So 2 weeks later, we had built me one of those things, and you know, went out there and shoot, I won 16 straight races on that twin and ended up top novice in the United States that year.
Well, we were very blessed to be able to come through that era. I think it was the greatest era that I can remember.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, it's great talking to you, and I hope we run into each other again. And I came pretty far to come to this event, and I was hoping I had a chance to talk to you.
Well, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Steve. And now I found this Psycho News footage from Louisville 1990, and they had a flashback from the race in 1989. It would have been June 3rd as we see Scotty Parker battling with Steve Morehead. Scotty Parker, multi-time national #1 racer. Steve Morehead, this is one of the nationals that Steve Morehead went on to win. And in the end, it was Steve Morehead first, Dan Ingram second, Chris Carr third, Scotty Parker finished fourth, and George Roeder finished in 5th place. Steve Morehead was one of the greats. The Illinois Motorcycle Freedom Run, it's illfreedomrun.org. That's June 20th at Grundy County Fairgrounds. Experimental Aircraft, EAA.org. EAA AirVenture is July 20th through 26th in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I will be there. Jeff Schwartz at schwartzperformance.com. MCC Ducati and Triumph is Team MCC. And the Muscle Car and Corvette National is on November 21st and 22nd. That's mcacn.com. I had a great time putting this show together. To contact me, and I love to hear from my audience, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. And remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action, Dan Schmitt Politics, to learn what makes America great. And I highly encourage you to visit the World of Motorcycle Museum. They're in Winamac, Indiana, 4 miles south of North Judson on Indiana Highway 39. But give them a call first at 574-896-3172. It's a great trip, a great collection of motorcycles, and you can pick up your Harley Davidsons and Yamahas at Kirstein Cycle Sales. Pick up your copy of the Team Chicago History Package at Rich's Yamaha in Lockport, Illinois, but give them a call first at 815-838-8130. Their website is richesyamaha.com. Pick up your copy of the Team Chicago History Package. And like I've stated, if you want to know everything there is to know about motorcycles, there's nothing like going to a swap meet. Here's a few dates coming up. We got Princeton, Illinois, Monroe, Michigan, Morris, Illinois, and back to Woodstock, Illinois. Remember, walneckswap.com, walneckswap.com.